Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another whiteboard session. Today, we're going to talk about 3 ways to prevent your training events from becoming snooze fests. All right, so let's get right into it. We're going to talk about those 3 things that you can focus on to ensure that your training events are less of a snooze fest and more interactive, engaging, and powerful. So I don't know if you've ever attended a training that was a little lackluster, a little boring, a little dull, and with that, you had trouble resonating or connecting with that information. Oftentimes, we as subject matter experts, we as learning professionals, we get on stage, we get on platform because we are in love with the content that we created. So we want to make sure that we focus on getting you all of the content. And the trap that we can fall into is a data dump. And we want to tell you all of the information. What we have to remember as learning professionals is that training ain't telling. It's more about providing the audience with the nuggets of information that really stick with them. It's more about providing stories. It's more about providing real life examples so that, again, they can connect with the content and interact with it as well. So the things that we should think about as learning professionals is how we can make the people in the room much smarter. How are they actually going to learn this information? Let's focus less on being the genius and focus more on being the genius maker. The third thing that I would recommend is the power of 3. So when you're thinking about the delivery of your content, you may have all the PowerPoint slides. You may have all of the great resources and tools in the world. But again, if it doesn't stick with the audience, it doesn't matter. So let's make sure that you think about those 3 things that you really want to make sure that that audience learns. So again, that they connect, they know what to do next, they know how to do the thing, and a lot more of it. The second thing that I would recommend is to focus on the business challenges. So when we're talking about business challenges, we're talking about usually customer training. Remember, customer training is not always external training. It could be your internal customers as well, like your employees. You have to figure out what motivates that particular learner. If it's a customer, again, why did they purchase the product to begin with? What was their interest in that particular solution? What's going to help them reach their goals? Once we uncover that information, then we're going to craft success strategies. And those particular success strategies will help them use the tool effectively, efficiently, again, and often, which is what you want. So we want the customer to toot their own horn. Oftentimes, we're talking about all the bells and whistles, everything that the platform can do, everything that the solution can do, everything that the product brings. But again, if a customer doesn't have an opportunity to learn about how they can really use it, then they're not going to be very interested. And that's how and when they typically disengage. So we have to help them celebrate those small wins. We use the information that they've talked to us about and that they've told us about why they purchased the product in the first place. And then we help them celebrate those things along the way, continuously along within that particular training. Help them see the ROI. That's exactly what the small wins does. So we don't want to wait till the end of the session and ask them, hey, did everyone get it? Or the infamous question that we always ask, does that make sense? Of course it makes sense. We're all adults, we're all great learners, but at the end of the day, if you want to connect with your audience, you have to help them make that connection. So what I would recommend next and lastly is create an interactive learning experience. So that means experiential learning. Get them to do the thing. So what we have to remember is that our audience is going to retain 10% of what they've seen, 35% of what they've seen and heard, and 90% of what they've seen, heard, and do. So we want to make sure that they are able to interact with the content that they've created. So a good way to do that is by asking thought-provoking questions. Get them thinking about what they've learned. So instead of asking, does that make sense? Maybe you're asking questions about how are you going to apply the knowledge that you've learned? How do you see yourself using this in your current role? That'll definitely get them engaged. And remember to inject your personality. Personality goes a long way. Get them to laugh, get them to smile. Again, ask them questions. Get them up on their feet. When you see the snooze fest happening, because it does from time to time, ask them about how can we make this more engaging. Do not be afraid to pivot. We always want to stay the course because, again, we fall in love with the content that we've created, but we cannot be afraid to take that next turn to make sure that our audience is with us. Lastly, think about knowledge check-ins. How can we prevent them from forgetting so much of that information? So remember, our audience and people overall, the forgetting curve says that we have the tendency to forget 50% of new information within an hour. We have a tendency to forget 70% of that information within 24 hours, within that one day. But within 1 week, man, we forget 90% of the information. So again, we have to think about how can we connect with that audience? Can we get them involved? How can we ask questions that really stick with them? And how do we get them involved in experiences and accelerated learning techniques and games and having a great time, even if it's virtual? It's easier to do that live and in person, but we have to think about outside of the box about how we still connect with that audience. And so let's recap. So remember, in order to offer an engaging, impactful, powerful training, what you want to do is avoid the data dump. We want to focus on the business challenges and craft success strategies and talk about success stories as well. And lastly, make it an interactive learning experience. Just remember, learning professionals, our responsibility is to make sure that training is more than just an event, that it becomes a learning journey. We have to give our audience something that they'll never forget. If you like what you've heard today, make sure you like it. We would love to hear from you, and I would love to hear how you all handle your engaging trainings or your not engaging trainings. So make sure you comment below and subscribe to this content. For now, this is Blair. I hope you have a great day.